Ocean vessel fleets need regular renewals. Aging vessels can become less efficient and more costly to operate, but it is not the only factor that comes into consideration. So vessel scrapping is what I call the self-righting mechanism of the freight markets. Ships don't get scrapped because they become too old. If it's worth investing in repairs, new steel, and making sure that they are okay for new regulations, ships will continue to trade. However, in the last few years, new rules and regulations are being adopted, stricter rules and regulations about the quality and standard of ships going into various regions around the world, whether it's an environmental regulation or a safety regulation. And therefore, to maintain a ship to continue to trade, the cost of that is going up for ship owners. So in very simple terms, vessels get scrapped due to age and condition, and in general, it becomes very complicated to trade and maintain a dry bulk vessel over 25 years, for example, or a tanker over 20 years. And so long as owners are making money, vessels will continue to trade. And that's why we've had this last few years of consistently low scrapping levels. Yeah, as I said, vessels get scrapped due to low freight rates, but what's important is that they stay low for a period of at least around 6 months. Once a ship costs more to run, then leaving it exactly where it is and removing the crew, which is what we call layup, then scrapping moves up fairly dramatically. But it takes time, as owners will hold on as long as they possibly can. So if you take an example like the post 2008 financial crisis, we saw freight rates dramatically collapse, and scrapping levels over time increased considerably. Also because we had a situation where the order book for new vessels was very, very high, and therefore supply of ships was now overtaking the demand for vessels, and that kept the freight rates low for as long as possible. So what's important to understand is it really depends on the demand and supply balance between ships and cargoes. And you can even have situations where new buildings might go to scrap. It's very rare, but you'll also see ships trading over 40 years old. Yes, so let's start that discussion around demand, because we have a few rain clouds on the horizon. And I think, as I've said before, we need to focus here on China. And what China's trying to deal with is overcapacity in some of its major industries, like steel production, electric vehicle production, construction, aluminum production, maybe oil refining even. And this has negative implications overall for global trade. So there's a growing theory that even China has possibly peaked in its oil consumption way earlier than initially analysts were expecting. They built this amazing state-of-the-art public transport system, and they're the biggest manufacturers of electric vehicles, alongside huge leaps in solar, wind, and hydro power capacity. So talks of trade wars and tariffs and that whole discussion causes distortions in world trade, as we've said before, and push production back to consumption areas, reducing the need for global trade overall. So as fleets get delivered in all sectors of the shipping market, except crude oil, where on the VLCC fleets, there will come a point that supply exceeds demand, and we will go into a slump in the freight markets. Ship owners will be cash flow negative. One thing that's 100% sure in shipping is that shipping markets are cyclical. So we will see a fall off in demand as supply continues to increase, and we will see a slump in the markets. And that's when the self-righting mechanism kicks into place. And at that point, we will increase scrapping as ship owners become cash flow negative. The collective opinion right now is that we're not at the bottom of the cycle. We can go lower, and that could last for a while. So earnings for ship owners really need to go below those operating expenses and stay there for quite a while. And then that scrapping will increase. I suppose the good news is that investors haven't been overconfident in the last few years to order new ships. As new regulations and environmental regulations that are coming into place have made it extremely difficult for ship owners to know exactly what to order, as that drive to zero carbon in shipping markets makes it very, very tough, particularly around new fuels. Thanks for having me. Like and subscribe.